So a few years back, I had a really bad back injury, and a lot of conventional treatments didn't help me. And it was really an integrative healing process where learning about the mind body connection and how my thoughts and emotions were playing into physical pain manifesting in my body. And throughout all that work, like I said, I'm Catholic. I really wasn't going to church simply from the perspective of I was just in a lot of physical pain and wasn't able to be in that environment. But I knew I wanted to get back to church when I started getting better. When I did start getting better, was back in church once, and the work that had helped me from not being in pain anymore, like really just wasn't working in the moment, and I was feeling a lot of pain. And it was at a moment in mass where we all recite together, we're kneeling, and we say, Lord, I'm not worthy that you should enter under my roof, but only say the word, and my soul shall be healed. And as I was saying those words, and especially when I said the word healed, I could feel the pain,
Uh,
just from my head, just go all the
oh,
way through my body, out through my feet. And the way I describe it is that it wasn't just, the pain in the moment going away, but just
everything.
all the pain from this entire experience, and
Mm,
honestly like probably my entire life, that just left my body, and just pure stillness, um because I really wasn't able to be in the moment through that entire experience, because my mind was always just thinking about the pain, or was
mm,
thinking about all the stress. So would
mm.
love to know your thoughts on that entire experience, and it would have been fascinating to see an image of my brain in that
Yep.
moment.
No, well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's wonderful. I really enjoy hearing people's experiences, and it's been a big part of my work to try to understand them. Like I said, we have thousands of descriptions of these experiences, which have been a kind of treasure trove of data to help us understand them. And you bring up a kind of experience which is which is a very profound one, which is one that has kind of healing powers. And well, first of all, again, going back to the neurotheology piece for a moment, as I stated it up front, it's not just science looking at religion, but sometimes it is, and it's not just religion looking at science, but sometimes it is. And so, to me, neurotheology needs to be very open to all of the possibilities. So, one of the possibilities is the religious one, which is, did God, truly enter you in some way and affect these kinds of changes? And that's certainly a possibility, and it's something that it would be wonderful to be able to sort of explore that and try to understand that in some way. At the very least, while we may not, obviously, there's no way for us to study God, so to speak, but we can study your effect. We can study, okay, well, what changed in you between, before and after. And we can look at those kinds of questions. Again, it's very challenging because we often don't know when those experience. I mean, I'm sure you were in church many times where you didn't have that experience, and then now that day, you actually had that experience. So that's a real challenge too, because we never know exactly when those things are going to happen. But beyond just the purely spiritual or religious answer, the brain itself is remarkably powerful, and it has its own abilities to modulate what we feel. I mean, the thing about pain, and I've done some studies separate from religion and spirituality that have looked at pain. And I mean, pain is really a remarkable thing. I mean, obviously, it's horrible when you're in it. I'm in a little bit of back pain myself these days, but what's kind of odd is that I feel it back here, but I'm really feeling it up here. I mean, this is where I feel it. So theoretically, then the feeling is something that your brain is able to modulate or change. There have been interesting studies about how different neurotransmitters, the chemicals in the brain, like the endorphins and so forth, can change the way we perceive and feel things. There are nerve fibers that connect your back or different areas wherever you have pain up into the brain. There are inhibitory neurons that can block that pain. And so, you could get into all kinds of hypotheses of that, it basically, there was sort of a rewiring of your brain to no longer feel the pain, which is obviously, wonderful. But again, whether God did the rewiring or whether your brain somehow did it, or whatever happened, is obviously quite fascinating to think about and to explore. But what's also, to me, a really important piece to all of this is how does that change, in this case, you personally, but how does it change any person in the long run? And so this experience where, for years or whatever, you had a specific, issue and a problem that was really kind of tormenting you, to have that suddenly lifted, is a very, I mean, the emotions that are part of that, the thoughts that are part of that, like you said, the way you think about yourself, all of that is going to undergo just a massive shift in that moment. And that is, again, part of what I find really fascinating of so many of these descriptions of spiritual experiences, that they literally last seconds, a minute or two, something like that. They're very, very brief, but they change everything about how the person thinks about themselves, how they think about the world. And so, it comes with it this sort of change, a sense of clarity, a sense of intensity, a sense of surrender, of sort of, giving yourself over to this process that now is sort of guiding you down a path that is, changes